there's a rumor floating around that West Virginia is talking to the ACC. I've not heard that. I don't know that I believe that yet.
Golden Blue Dude does. Golden Blue Dude thinks it's a done deal.
He does.
He thinks it's a done deal. What is up, everybody? It is Jake with Master Football, back at it again. Happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here. Never been here before. This is Jake with Master Football. All things pro football, college football, video game football, anything related to American football we discuss on the show right now. Please subscribe, like, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. I'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, guys, we have another special video today. It is another interview. Again, last week I interviewed Bronco Blameyer, talked about Boise State and everything like that. This time we're going to my man Justin Walker, aka Coos, out in Coos' Corner. So for those of you who don't know him, and again, he is right here, Coos' Corner. He's got 1.83K subs. He's doing really well right now. Talks everything college football, college basketball. He's got special guest live streams. Everybody here, go subscribe to him. I'm going to make sure I include these links in the description. And also, he's got multiple social medias out there. I think he said he's trying to figure out TikTok and things like that. He is on Twitter. I encourage you to go follow him there as well. We talk about a lot of things. Talk about West Virginia, kind of where they're at. Talk about Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12. We talk about the current landscape of college football, where that might go. I encourage you guys to check out this conversation. It is a good one. Let me know what you think after the video. Keep in mind, he wasn't able to use his regular studio in this situation, so he had to kind of shoot it. He had to kind of ad-lib here. But again, I let you know the conversation is awesome, even if you can get over the fact that you can't really see him as well. But again, the conversation was fire. Check it out. Justin, thank you so much for being on my channel. Let me ask you real quick. First question. Actually, not necessarily a question, but I want you to give kind of like a 30-second elevator pitch about you, your channel, what you kind of do. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
Absolutely. Appreciate you having me on. My name is Justin Walker. I go by Coos. My channel is Coos' Corner, COUZ''S. Right here on YouTube. I do college football, mainly West Virginia. Do a lot of West Virginia stuff, Big 12 stuff. And any major national storylines, I'll touch on those as well. And once in a blue moon, I'll throw in a West Virginia basketball video.
There you go. I saw a couple of those West Virginia basketball ones, so I definitely see the fact you get broadening out there. So, but we're going to stick mostly towards the football right now. So on to the next question. Like I said, so right now, there's a lot that's been going on in the college football world. I think that on the field is actually some of the more well-established things. Off the field, there was a lot of stuff going on. But right now, West Virginia football heading into the next season, where they're at, how do you think they're competing? What do you think the direction of the team is?
Well, if you'd asked me this question 2 weeks ago, it would have been a different answer. Right now, I think the direction is positive.
Mm-hmm.
We just landed JT Daniels, which is a huge pickup for us. It kind of changed the landscape of our entire offseason, to be honest. That's how big of a get it is for us. Because our biggest question mark was at the quarterback position, because we had three guys who had little to no experience, and we had just lost, our last year's starter to the transfer portal, which the fan base was not really happy with him either anyway. So we really wanted to change at that position and needed somebody with some experience, and we think we got it if he can stay healthy. Obviously, is the key. Other than that, we got our whole offensive line back from last year. We've got all but one of our defensive linemen back. We've got several of our receivers back. We did lose a couple to the portal, but we've still got, a core of guys back. And we've got what we feel like is a really good running back room. So, I feel good about it. A lot of our fan base is really frustrated with the amount of guys we've lost in the transfer portal, which is about 21 guys since the start of the season. But about six, I think I heard a number the other day on another podcast. I think about 75% of those guys were recruited by the previous coaching staff, who has a totally opposite way and strategy when it comes to building a football program. So Coach Brown is he's completely turning the program on its head, so to speak, just because of his strategy and the way he wants to build the team. And I guess, a lot of those guys from the previous staff just they're not gelling with the new culture that he's building. Because I think we've got guys in now that are bought in.
For sure. And I think also with that, you see the fact I see here, like Zach Frazier returning all conference center, Dante Stills returning all conference defensive lineman. It looks like, from what I could see, like you said, up front, offense and defense, you guys are going to be pretty solid. outside a receiver, defensive back. There's a couple of transfer portal guys there, but you guys are building a team like that. You talked about Neal Brown. How would you describe his approach as opposed to Dana Holgerson's approach?
Coach Brown is big on, when he came in, at least he might have to change that strategy now a little, but he's really big on trying to build a program with high school players.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Holgerson built the team mainly on transfers.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all of our successful players under Holgerson were transfers. Now, not saying Brown doesn't use transfers, because he does, and obviously now he's going to have to use them even more to fill gaps. But his core, at the root of what he wants to do, he wants to have 3 and 4 year guys in the program. That's what he wants to do, and that is completely different from what Dana was doing. And he also just has a different philosophy. I mean, he's a really devout family man. He's big on family. He has players over with to spend time with the families and the coaches' families. And Dana didn't do that kind of stuff. Dana was pretty much all about football. I'm not saying I'm not saying that's a negative or a positive. That's just his way of doing it.
Sure.
So it's just whole different mentality and a different mindset in the way he goes about his work.
For sure. And what would you say too? I think also the fact that, Neal Brown's a solid get, but describe what the get was of Graham Harrell. Like you said, JT Daniels. I'm checking here. You guys got what was that? I think the number 19 quarterback in the country, Nico, I think Marichal or something like that. I can't pronounce his name exactly, but bringing in some solid quarterbacks there. Talk about Graham Harrell's addition to the team.
Graham Harrell has been a breath of fresh air as well. And to be honest, without him, I don't think we get JT Daniels.
Yeah.
Because of their connection from USC. But since Neal Brown's got here, our biggest challenge has been offense. Our offense has struggled mightily.
Mm-hmm.
And the biggest complaint the fan base had was, and Neal Brown was calling his own plays. And the one question mark everyone had, and most of the fan base wanted, was he needs to bring in a play caller, full-time play caller.
Sure. So
that he can focus on clock management, because that was an issue in some games, and managing the team and, being a head coach. Well, he did that. And he gets a guy who's got a pretty good pedigree in Graham Harrell.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, Coach Brown's checking all the boxes he needs to check. He's doing anywhere there's a weakness, he tries to address it. And Harrell is just, to me, you look at his days at North Texas, he had a really good offense. USC, he had a good offense. Now, some of the USC fan base will disagree with that, but USC was a really bad team. So I think sometimes anybody who's on that staff kind of gets grouped in.
Yeah. Guilt by association. Yeah.
Yes. There you go. Guilt by association.
Yeah.
But the offense put up pretty good numbers. Now they didn't get the ball in the end zone a whole lot. They did struggle there, but their defense was terrible. So who knows how often they were having to go, 80, 90-yard drives too. So
for sure.
If you look back through his track record, especially when he started out at North Texas with his first offensive coordinator job, he brought them from one of the worst offenses in the country to a top 25 offense in 1 year. So to me, and what's even better, I think he's even better as a quarterback coach than he's an offensive coordinator. He's really good and has a really good track record of developing quarterbacks. JT Daniels, Keaton Slovis, Jackson Dart, just to name 3, and then he had a kid named Mason Fine at North Texas who also put up really big numbers. So to me, you look at his previous quarterbacks and the previous numbers put up by his offenses, to me, it was a home run hire.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that too, like you said, all those guys, a couple of them transferred, but it was like they transferred and they were hot commodities on the transfer market. It wasn't like people at JT Daniels, nobody was looking for him. It wasn't like Keaton Slovis, nobody was looking for him. A lot of people wanted those guys.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, Daniels was recruited in the portal by several schools, and now he narrowed down his list to 3, which was us, Missouri, and Oregon State, 2 respectable programs.
Mm-hmm.
We always, at least I always felt like we had the leg up because of the Graham Harrell connection there. But Missouri being an SEC team, I felt like they was a threat there, or were a threat there to take because of their SEC connection.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, I think he wants to go somewhere where he doesn't have to. He's already going to know the playbook, so he doesn't have to. He's not going to have to. He can basically hit the ground running.
All right, on to the next question. So good understanding of West Virginia football, kind of where they're at, Neal Brown and everything like that. Now more so, we got to talk about the 10,000-pound elephant in the room. the Texas and Oklahoma leaving the Big 12. So for those of people who don't know, West Virginia, Big East for a while there, ultimately goes to the Big 12, kind of for a little bit on an island there in terms of if you look at the geography compared to the rest of the country. At one point, they were trying to get Louisville, they were trying to get Florida State, but the news pops, Texas, OU leave. What's West Virginia standing? What do you think of the Big 12? Where are they at in terms of conference affiliation, do you think?
Well, I feel like we're on good standing. There's a rumor floating around that West Virginia is talking to the ACC. I've not heard that. I don't know that I believe that yet.
Golden Blue Dude does. Golden Blue Dude thinks it's a done deal.
He does.
He thinks it's a done deal.
He and I disagree on that, but respectfully disagree. But I'm just the type of guy. I just don't want to believe. I'll believe it when I see it, I guess. The ACC didn't want us in 2011. I just don't know that anything's changed there enough to move the needle. Now there has been some things change. Our academics have improved. Obviously the TV landscape's changing now, where things are going more towards streaming versus, the size of your cable market, that kind of thing. I think that should work to our advantage, because West Virginia's fan base is not consolidated to the state of West Virginia. They're spread out all over the country, because most people leave West Virginia when they get out of school because to go find work. So there's Mountaineer fans everywhere. So I think that works in our favor. And then there are some other things that I don't want to get into, or we'd have a 1-hour video. But I just think that I do feel like we're in good standing. But Gordon Gee has been really heavily involved in the playoff expansion talks, conference expansion talks, all that stuff. That's our university president. He's been heavily involved in all of that. He's actually been, and this is kind of off topic, but somewhat related. He's actually in favor of the Big 12 and Pac-12 forming an alliance together. So I don't think he would be pushing an alliance between the Big 12 and Pac-12 if he were planning on getting West Virginia out.
Yeah.
See what I mean? So I personally don't believe it. There's a part of me that would like to see us get out of the Big 12 only for the fact of the geographic disadvantages we're under.
For sure.
I have nothing against the Big 12. I enjoy the competition there. The fan base is there. I think we fit in culturally with the Big 12 pretty well. But just we're at such a huge geographic disadvantage, especially when it comes to sports, the Olympic sports where you play multiple games in a week.
Yeah.
West Virginia
midweek volleyball, absolutely. Midweek volleyball, softball, that really, really throws it off.
Oh, yeah. Even basketball. I mean, you play a basketball game at 9:00 p.m. on Monday in Kansas. They get back to Morgantown at 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And have to be at class at 8.
Oh, yeah.
How is that? And the other teams only do that once a year. West Virginia has to do it 9 times a year. So it's a huge disadvantage for us. But as far as on the field competition, I'm happy with the Big 12, and even the new Big 12, because I'm really excited about, I think Houston's going to bring a good product. I think the whole Dana Holgorsen, I think we could potentially have a little rivalry there because of the Dana Holgorsen connection.
Oh yeah.
I think UCF's an attractive program because of the what they're doing there. BYU's got a huge national following. I mean, I really, and Cincinnati, obviously. I mean, heck, they were in the CFP last year, so they're a very good program. And of course, we remember them from our days in the old Big East. But hopefully that'll be a little bit of a regional rivalry for us. But so on the field, I'm okay with the Big 12. But we're at such a huge geographic disadvantage. I wouldn't mind to see us get out if it made sense from a financial standpoint.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how good a footing the ACC's on either at this point,
Well, you're right. I mean, you're right. I mean, if you talk about that, like if Florida State and Clemson get cold feet, like how attractive is the ACC for you guys? I mean, obviously, Virginia Tech, the Black Diamond Trophy. We're going to talk about the backyard brawl in a second here. Obviously, there's a couple things that would work there, but dude, I mean, this is a bonus question, I suppose, but what do you think is going to happen in the next 10 years of college football? Are we going to see a 64 team breakoff? What are we going to see, dude?
I think so. I think we're going to see I've been following really close. I don't know how many college football fans are following this. I think most of us who are, really hardcore probably are, but I don't think the casual football fan realizes August of this year, the entire landscape of college football could change. They're going to vote on a new NCAA constitution.
Okay.
And there's talk that they might be separating the Power Fives and the group of five even further.
Yeah.
So if that happens, and that, by adding another division, I mean, so if that happens, to me, that's step one of creating super conferences.
Mm-hmm.
I think eventually we will move into either super conferences where you'll have two major conferences made up of the Power Five, what's left of the Power Five teams, ones that are able to hang on, and then maybe even eventually just one big league, to where the group of five is completely. I think we're going to get to a point where the group of five is going to have their own champion, and the Power Five is going to have their own champion. I think that's where we're headed.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. If they got to, and actually, like you mentioned, the ACC was one of the big detractors from a 12-team expansion of the playoff, but they get to that point. Maybe one of those, the 12 seed goes to the winner of the Mountain West Championship, the winner of the group of five or something like that. And then the first round, they have to play, I don't know, who's the number 12 team, maybe like Auburn. Auburn was 6-6 last year. That's not a good example, but you know what I'm trying to say. They play like a 10 seeded team or something like that.
Right.
So I'm going to go into this. We're going to the next question. So you have to help me out with West Virginia rivalries because they're all over the place. So I see Maryland quite a bit. Okay. I see the Black Diamond Trophy. I see the rivalry with Marshall, but I feel like the rivalry with Marshall is like Boise State's rivalry with the University of Idaho. It's a rivalry for the people that live there, but at the big school, they don't really worry about the small school. I kind of feel like that's what it is.
That's right. We don't even, and I outlaw college football, a buddy of mine, he gives me a hard time about that because he feels like we are kind of bullying Marshall to some extent.
Yeah.
By not wanting to play them. Because West Virginia and Marshall were forced to play each other several years back by our governor.
Wow.
At the time, Joe Manchin, for I forget how many years it was, but West Virginia basically loses money when they have to go to Huntington and play Marshall.
Yeah.
There's nothing in it for us.
Yeah.
So West University didn't really want to do it. So when Joe Manchin forced that on them, they weren't real happy. So obviously once that contract expired, it didn't get renewed because West Virginia was like, we're not doing it.
We're taking a loss every time we do this.
Yeah,
when Boise State plays the University of Idaho, they play at what's called the Kibbe Dome. I encourage you to look up what the Kibbe Dome is. It's actually not even technically a dome. It's an event center. They have like these little halves. It's just this weird like shed of a football stadium, but it's kind of the same situation. But I say all of that to bring us back to the one that is, I saw you had a post about JT Daniels. How do I say this? You let the Pittsburgh Panthers fans know that you guys were coming. So talk to me about the backyard brawl, because I know enough about that to know if you look at a map, they're right there next to each other. Talk to me about that rivalry.
Oh yeah. Well, you got number one, it's oldest rival, one of the oldest rivalries in college football. And I'm not even going to try to remember the number, but it's over 100 years we've been playing those guys. And they're 75 miles away, the two campuses are. So it literally is the backyard brawl. I mean, it's an hour and a half ride in a car up the road from each other. And, they shared conferences for a while, so they played every single year. And it was normally that last game of the season during rivalry week. And basically, our basketball coach, Bob Huggins, said it best when they asked him about it earlier this year. They said, "What do you think about Pitt?" He said, "I detest them."
Oh, yeah. There you go. Yeah, for sure.
And that's basically our fan base pretty much hates their fan base and vice versa. So it's we miss it, man. It's lost its luster a little bit because we haven't played each other in a decade. So these new, the players on the team now don't even know about it.
Yeah.
They were little kids the last time we played them. So, but our coaching staff is, they have a countdown started. So they're circling on the calendar. They're making a big deal of it, trying to get the guys fired up and let them realize how important of a game it is, because they understand that to us fans, it is really important. So it's definitely a big deal. Now, I might be getting ahead of you here, but we did extend that. We have a home and home for 4 years through 2025, and then we get a 3-year break. And then we pick the series back up again in 2029 and play another 4 years, home and home. So we're all excited about that because we get, we're going to get 4 not only in the next 4 years, but then we get 4 more later on of Pitt, West Virginia again.
Yeah, dude. And it's kind of cool because like I was thinking about this, like Pittsburgh, metropolitan area, West Virginia in the mountains. It's 75 miles, but it almost seems like it's like Tale of Two Cities, man. It's just like two completely different perspectives. Another cool storyline to add to that is, like you said before, you had mentioned Keaton Slovis, JT Daniels, Graham Harrell, that whole kind of rematch. September 1st, right, of this next year.
Yes.
Talk to me
Yes.
about what that means with that dynamic and that storyline going into the game.
Well, what's cool about it is, number one, it's putting that game, West Virginia's, because we've struggled the last 3 seasons, we don't get a whole lot of media attention on a national level because we're not one of the blue bloods. So storylines like this help us get that national attention. That game may now be on ESPN, right? In prime time, because now they have now moved it to a Thursday night game. So hopefully it'll get that ESPN primetime slot on Thursday night. It may even be the first game of the college football season. I'm not sure, but it's one of them for sure.
Dude, that'd be wild, man. First game of the season, rivalry game. Dude, it's going to be awesome.
And then you're going to have, I've had USC fans chime in, say they're going to be watching now because of the Slovis, Daniels, Harrell angle.
Mm-hmm.
You've got Georgia fans now planning to watch it because of the JT Daniels angle.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there's going to be a lot more eyes on this game than there would have been, a couple months ago before Harrell and this whole Harrell Daniels Slovis thing came to fruition. Before it was kind of just, Pitt fans and West Virginia fans were excited about it. Now you've got fans from all over the country that are excited about it. So, and I think that's a big deal, especially if we can win the game and really get our season off to a good start.
For sure, man. All right. So I asked Jake Blameyer this same question. I'm going to ask it to you too. So again, you're entering year 4 for Neal Brown. He's won 5, 6, and 6. That 2020 was a shortened season. He was 6-4, so that probably would have averaged out to about 8 or 7-5, something like that. But where do you see Neal Brown, West Virginia, going forward? How do you like the West Virginia University heading into, like you said, now we're talking about long term as opposed to just next season. We're talking like the new potential Super League. We're talking maybe ACC sends an invite. Where do you see ultimately West Virginia ending up in terms of just in general?
In the next 10 years, 5 to 10 years, I think West Virginia I do think we will be able to remain a Power 5 program and whatever that looks like, whether we're in the Big 12, ACC, whatever. Gordon Gee is an extremely well-respected university president. He's worked at multiple schools. A lot of the university presidents that that are his peers now worked for him at one point. So, I mean, he's really well respected. He's been at Ohio State. He's been at Vanderbilt. He's been at a lot of other prestigious schools. Even I think he was even at Brown, which is an Ivy League school. So very well respected, and he understands the importance about college athletics and the revenue that brings into these schools. So I think as long as he's there, he's going to do everything he can to keep West Virginia relevant. As far as, and when I say relevant, I don't mean that disrespectfully, but to keep us at that Power 5 status. And Shane Lyons, our AD, assuming he doesn't get the Big 12 commissioner job because his name's being thrown out there, I think he seems very well respected as well. He's been on a lot of committees and subcommittees and all this other stuff. So I think as long as those two guys are at the helm, we're in pretty good hands. And I think we'll be able to maintain our Power 5 status. I don't want to sit here and predict what conference we'll end up in because I don't know.
Sure.
But there's so many.
I'm betting, though, that
think,
progression to 64, whatever that Super League is, whatever they do, West Virginia is on the table.
I think so. I think they will be. I mean, I think our fan base is strong enough and powerful enough, passionate enough that, and I do think we bring in more revenue than what I don't think people that are not West Virginia fans understand. Our TV ratings are pretty darn good, more so than people realize. I think I heard that our game against Virginia Tech last year was one of the highest viewed games of the season for ESPN. So I mean, it matters to us, and I know the TV folks know that, and if they don't, our leadership will make sure they do know that. Now, from a competitive standpoint, Neal Brown, obviously right now he's kind of on I guess you could say he's on a warm seat. I don't know if it's hot yet, but it's definitely warm. But I really do think he's moving the program in the right direction. I think in year 4, we're going to see some progress. I think we'll actually start seeing a climb. His motto has been trust to climb, but it's really not been a climb so far. It's been more of a plateau. But I do think we're going to start seeing that climb now that he's got more guys that are bought in. He's bringing in the kind of talent he wants. Our recruiting looks great. I mean, right now, our 2023 class right now sits at like 15 or 17 in the country, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that'll change, but still, that's really good for us to be up there with the big boys, with the blue bloods recruiting. And so I think we're moving in the right direction. And I think we'll be competing for conference titles again in the very near future. I really do.
For sure. Well, Justin, last question, last thing for you. Where can people find you on social media?
Find me on Twitter at Couz, COUZ 206, at Couz 206 on Twitter. I have started a TikTok account as well, Couz's Corner on TikTok. I'm still learning TikTok. I'm not really active there yet, but I'm working on it. I'm still trying to figure Instagram out. My account got hacked, and I've not even been able to change my password. I'm completely locked out. So I'm still trying to navigate that. But once I'm there, I'll be at Couz 206, hopefully there. More to come. But yeah, Twitter, man. I'm mainly on Twitter at Couz 206. And you can find me on Facebook under Justin Walker, which is obviously my real name.
Well, there you go. All right. Well, Justin Couz, thank you so much for being on my show, man. Like I said, in the future, you'll be on mine. I'll be on yours, whatever you want, man. But I really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, man. I really enjoy your work, man. Keep it up.
Appreciate it. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Like I said, follow him on all social media. Go out there and find him. And again, same thing with me here. Like, share, comment, subscribe to this stuff. Thank you so much for all of that. That's it for me, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I am out.